everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about self-care and the way that I think about it. So I tend to think of self-care as something that can help you in the short term, right immediately, right in the moment. But also, there's self-care that can help you in the long term, okay? Maybe further down the line. And the thing is, we need both. It's really easy to just do one or the other, but you need both, okay? Your short-term stuff might just be in the moment listening to music or watching YouTube, or knitting or distracting yourself, right? It might just be, hey, I'm going to eat this cookie now. And all those things are great. They definitely help in the moment, and you need those. But none of those things really address the underlying stuff going on. They're not really addressing any of the causes, the triggers, or whatnot. Okay? And so that's where the long-term stuff comes in, right? And not all these categories are super neat, okay? Some of them are a little bit, fuzzy. Yoga, it could help you very much in the short term, but also have good long-term effects for you, right? Your long-term could be, having a large goal to accomplish. It could be finding therapy, maybe addressing some of your nutritional needs. That sort of thing. And so, I notice my friends, when they don't do the short-term stuff, they just kind of go dead inside. Or maybe they pick a short-term, self-care that is really unhealthy. Or maybe, when they don't do the long-term stuff, they kind of tend to stay cycling stuck in their, issues, and it doesn't really address the underlying things, right? If you never actually look at the thing that triggers you and you just stay stuck in that, well, you just kind of stay there and it gets worse. Just kind of want to share a bit about that, because I definitely find the balance of those two really hard, especially with, chronic illness. And there's always this balance of sometimes I have to put the short-term ones on pause for a second to maybe expend a few extra spoons to try and get, one of the long-term things done. Yeah, it might suck a little bit more in that day, in that moment, but making sure, that I've got food readily available to me, or trying to get therapy scheduled will help. And so there's this, this push and pull of what I need to do in that moment to take care of both of those things.
Yeah, and I guess if you're okay with me adding to this, so there's a couple things that stand out to me. Is for me, one of the things that's been very difficult is since I transitioned, I've actually really had a hard time with meditation, which is weird for a person who's been basically training in Zen since 2008. That was something that was really important to me, but one of the things that really sucks is that meditation in my head is very associated with masculinity now. It's because I got trained in a Zen temple, and Zen is a very masculine practice. And so now I actually find myself really struggling with meditation, and I've been kind of avoiding it for at least a year. I do it on occasion when I really need to, but it's not what it was by any stretch. And it's something I'm trying to reintegrate. But there is that balance there, because I know in the long term, by meditating regularly, I get real clarity. I get, a sense of, control over my reactivity. And I get access to aspects of myself that I don't normally have. But there are some days where sometimes just figuring out food is all I got in me. I get done with 5 or 6 sessions in a row, and I am completely out of it because I've got a migraine coming on. And the best I can do is just figure out food or make my way to the bed and get some ice. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's short-term ways in which, these things can help, but do they actually resolve the long-term problem? No, but sometimes that's just where you're at. Another good example of this for me is I am 100%, and I think as a channel, we are 100% for the complete decriminalization and legalization of marijuana. I'm not a big fan of it being overly taken by capitalism, but what isn't? Mm-hmm. But one of the things is that I think marijuana usage can be incredibly beneficial for folks, especially if they're dealing with chronic illness and stuff like that. But for a lot of people, it does seem like sometimes it's used as a means by which to solve short-term, feel better about things, but not actually deal with a long-term issue. I've known friends of mine who basically lived in a cloud for 10 years. I lost track of them after a while because they were so interested in just living in that world that they weren't really moving or going anywhere. And that's fine. That's their choice. But it is something that I do look at because, again, even though I am for this chemical being accessible to any adult, I find myself in a place where I go, much like, although in a very different way from alcohol, I do feel like we have to be kind of clear about what it is that we're doing when we use it. This is why, like, in previous discussions, I've talked about, like, the use of psychedelics. I don't like the use of psychedelics in a fun format, like at EDM concerts and stuff like that, because that short-term, woo, I feel out of it, yay, is not anything compared to the actual benefit of, used, controlled, and very safe practice. Not that I'm advocating any of you do that, but if you do, do it in a way that is safe to you. Do it in a way that is not going to, with obviously with people you trust, things like that. Like, you can really get some incredibly useful experiences out of that, but that's a long-term gain. And you have to kind of be willing to kind of let go of that short-term, this is going to be fun, this is going to be great kind of thing. Again, you might need that in the moment, but is that really the long-term thing you're trying to do? And it is a balance, because sometimes you might need that. Sometimes you, in any circumstance, not just the ones I've given, you might just need very real, a short-term gain. Like, sometimes I just can't deal with shit. I'm gonna play a video game. But I can't do that all the time because eventually things don't get paid. Right?
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I do to try and accommodate some of this is break down, the large tests into even smaller chunks. That usually seems to be the most effective. So, like, when I'm painting, like, yeah, I really want to do watercolors. But maybe all I have in me is drawing one night, right? And I'll just draw a bunch and get all that done. And that way, I can get to the painting part when I feel better later. And house tests are much the same, right? Maybe, something gets put off until, I'm in a place where I can handle it. Or I only do part of it, right? If I only fill half the dishwasher, it's really fine. It's really, really okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's also just okay sometimes to just recognize where your limitation is. It's hard, especially when you're a person who, when you were younger, was very much not okay with limitations. Morningstar Council said, like with us and getting towards escaping a toxic environment, it's exhausting, it wears us out. Fair. It often means dealing with uncomfortable people, but no other short or long-term self-care will actually get anything resolved, even though this is harder and less satisfying than anything else we could be doing. I will push back on that just a little bit, Morningstar, only because I've heard people say this before where they can't really do anything until they get out of this environment. And actually, one of the things I learned from my Zen master is, oh yeah, by the way, great to see you here. Mm-hmm. One of the things I heard from my Zen master was great is that there was a point for about 17 months where my Zen master was in prison, like federal prison, for drug-related stuff. And essentially, one of the things that he said, that's where real Zen practice takes place. The long-term goal of getting out was really important because it was an awful, awful place. But the everyday practice still mattered for him. So he was still sitting in Zen while he was in the in the penitentiary. He got out much, very past tense. But like, I want you guys to just think about that as like, yeah, right now it might be exhausting and difficult because you're having to deal with a really toxic situation. But even if you can just learn a decent breathing practice, or, go to our video about the container, or find another video. There's tons of stuff on Psych YouTube that could be useful. Like we just started watching a lady, I can't remember her name. I'll share it in the links for stream. But there's a lady who we just watched that talked about the benefits of magnesium, especially for the effects on medication-resistant depression.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this, and I listened to this video and I double-checked some of the stuff, and it's accurate. It's really interesting stuff. So even just like getting a supplement like that could be really helpful, because what I learned is magnesium is something a lot of people don't have enough of in their diet, and it's used for, a whole bunch of stuff in the body, and it can help with medication-resistant depression. And she gives citations. Badass. I learned a new thing. Even just things like that could be helpful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the big thing is this is where breaking things down into even tinier and tinier pieces that are manageable, right? yeah, it may not be the big situation, but if there's something that you can do in that to keep yourself going, to keep yourself as healthy as possible, that's still worth it. That is still going to get you to that larger goal. The more you, even if it's just, hey, dude, I've been in a visa situation, right? That was my teen years. It sucked. Like, my parents were not great. I'm still dealing with that stuff. But, you know, in the meantime, the most I can do is surround myself with healthy people, find, you know, people who understand what I'm going through. You know, there's some of the big ones. Making sure that I eat, though, that was a big one. Right? My family kind of made the kitchen area really toxic, so food's still really hard as an adult for me.
Tiamat, it also helps with a lot of neurological functions and certain processes in the nervous system, as an FYI.
Yeah. But yeah, if you know, and maybe one of those days, you know, self-care is going to be finding out what resources are available to you, you know, and other days it might be, hey, you know what, I need to give my brain a break and just calm down. I mean, that is the point. All of those things are valid and they're all worth it. You know, self-care being something that is accessible to you at all times, all the time, right? Giving yourself permission to just be where you're at, you know, or take care of your needs, I think is the big thing. Self-care shouldn't be like something that you need to go pay a lot of money for. It sucks that mental health services are like that, but you know, there's so much capitalism that tries to sell us all of these self-care items. Yeah, fuck all that. You know, but the actual self-care is something that's available to you at all times. So.
Yeah. It's, and there are, again, I'll find the video for you guys. That's what I was looking for. Because she goes into actually 3 different types of magnesium that is a thing. Again, this isn't the magnesium video, but it's just I really liked her stuff on it. I'm still trying to find it. I will put it in the Discord for people.
No, I find supplements really helpful. There are some that really, really work with my body. When you find some good ones, it is self-care to stick to your medication routine. Let me be real here.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh like, God.
Pirate self-care. Yeah, but like,
yeah.
But like that is a real thing though. Like sometimes just sticking to your medication regime and getting up on time is absolutely like is literally just a self-care moment. Like I think a lot of people don't realize this, but in a lot of cases there is you think about like meditation, like I use as examples or other things like that. But like in reality, you are still, how do I put this?
Just the act of being a human in a meat suit is hard.
Again,
it's hard.
It's super true. Yeah, the person I was looking at was Dr. Tracy Marks. Let me see if I can get her. Tracy Marks.
And honestly, like, I know some people who really, really need their sleep routine because it will mess them up otherwise. Like, oh God, like that really is huge for self-care.
By the way, I just want to be really clear about this. I'll put this in both the Discord and otherwise. I'll also put in the link for this. Just as an FYI, I thought this was complete and utter nonsense. And again, I tend to be very skeptical of a lot of the stuff on YouTube about this stuff. And I actually found this incredibly decent and her research was really solid. Here's that for people. You want to open that in another link? You totally can. I'll put that in the Discord as well and also part of the video. So just as FYI.
No, that's a good way to do medications, VM Draco. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess our thought on this is just part of it is giving yourself a little room. Sometimes that's the self-care, just giving yourself a little space and not beating yourself up for not getting to some practice. We've been trying to institute more yoga in our house. We've been really bad at it. I'm not going to beat ourselves up.
Migraines, so
yeah, we've been having migraines or dealing with issues.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sometimes do all that stuff. Even though I'm at home all the time, I still have things to do, like clean up the house or, deal with stuff with my kid or other shit like that. Like I guess what we're saying in a nutshell is balancing out those short and long-term, self-care needs, as well as giving yourself a damn break.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sums it up.
So, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.